Me. So, hello everybody. Thanks for coming. My name is Richard Toland. As you can see here, I'm the CTO for Focal Point Solutions. And Focal Point Solutions is we have part of our product stack is security and compliance reviews on your tenants. So if you're interested, we're giving away a module for security and compliance stuff. So come and grab the modules are all listed on the USB key, and grab a pen and fill out a card, one of these name cards. Just put your name on there if you're interested in having one. No pressure. Come and get it if you want it. What we're trying to do is, so today in this session, we're going to talk about how to leverage Office 365 or Microsoft 365 suite for managing projects. You know, how many of you have an official program management office? Yeah. You've probably already got a pretty rigorous program and a whole lot of tools that are available to you. And if that's the case, some of these, I'm hopeful that you'll find some benefit to these where the tools in Office 365 can either augment or in some cases replace other paid platforms that you might be using today. And you know, there's no point in double paying for licensure, right? Nobody wants to double pay. So if you've already got, let's call it Trello, and Trello has a ton of tools and a ton of features, but maybe you're not using them all, and it's costing you money for Trello Premium. Maybe you can replace that with Planner, right? From a Kanban processing perspective, or depends on what your process models are. How many in here are strictly waterfall? Yeah, all right. How many are agile, 100% agile? How many are Scrum? How many are agile, water, bond? Gone crazy. We've gone crazy, yeah. Depends on the customer, depends on the projects sometimes for each customer. And sometimes your customers will have their own processes that we have to adhere to, right? What we at Focal Point are in that scenario, right? So we try to manage our projects as best as we can. We leverage 365, the 365 suite, and we try to leverage the tools that we have available to us as best as we can for our own internal processes, and then follow whatever your client processes are too. The outcome of a lot of our processes are really targeted. They're focused towards, that's not a good idea. I'm gonna put this down here. That's better. It's just teetering right over my laptop. That's nice. Which, I mean, it may make it run faster because this slide deck, I will tell you, I'm gonna switch between two slide decks because me trying to merge the two today was like awful. It was crazy. So we, and I left it up here, technical level 100, 200, 300, 400. We're gonna touch on quite a few of these, right? So at your basic level, let's see if it goes. Oh, look, it changed. That's awesome. It wasn't behaving earlier. So today's goals. What we really want to try to talk through, I'm going to do a quick intro on the waffle. We'll talk about 365. How many people in here are 100% embedded in 365? You live there. How many of you are 100% online only, no on-prem? Wow. The numbers are getting there. That's good. It's good. If you're not there, get there. Just kidding. But everything we're going to talk about today is 100% online. I will mention there are some things that you can do in the automation stack when we get to the 300-400 level kind of stuff when we're talking about that. I'll mention some of the things that you can do, but I'm not going to do a deep dive on that today. We won't have enough time to really dig deep. But there are, in hybrid scenarios, for those of you that do have on-prem things, in your automation through Power Automate, you can reach directly onto your on-prem systems, right? It's a premium connector. You need to look at premium licensing to do that. And we'll talk about it when we get there. But for the most part, everything that we're going to talk about is going to be primarily driven out of the waffle, and we're going to look at that on Office 365. I will be leveraging a dummy tenant that I use. I use this in all of my mock-ups, all my demos. So it's a dev tenant, and they're not the most performant, right? Because they're dev tenants. They take a back seat to production on the cloud. So if it's misbehaving, we can try to switch over to my prod tenant, but hopefully everything we're going to do will be on the dev tenant today. I've already got some stuff that's already pre-staged up there. So intro, right, Office 365. Let me go over to, see if it does it here, not there, not there. Let's go to a machine that's talking to 365. So here's your admin center. Nope. Nope. All right, you can do it. Let's do this. Back to the slides. Escape. Switch. Yes. I mean, we're supposed to be good with this technology stuff, right? That's okay. Okay, so across your admin center, right? How many of you have admin privileges on your tenant today? Oh, not everybody. Okay, cool. You don't need admin privileges to do anything we're going to talk about today. But what we're going to look at, right, is up here on the top left. We've got this cool thing called a waffle. And I'm going to blow this out to look at all the apps. Right, that's cool. That's a big long list of stuff here. You've probably heard everybody talking about this long list of stuff that's up here. I'm going to go to Office 365 so it's a little bigger. You can see some big icons. Maybe you can do it. I know you can do it. It's okay. That's good. Good. No. All right. Well, give it. Yay! Big icons. So let me see the thing here. Like this. All right. So we're going to primarily be talking about Planner. Today we're going to talk about Teams and maybe some Word. We'll probably be talking about Stream, maybe a little bit of Power BI. We'll see. SharePoint for sure, and OneNote. So Focal Point, right? We at Focal Point, we use primarily 3 tools to manage our internal processing. We're primarily driven out of Teams, and we have an automated pipeline process that we've built so using some Power Automate magic to do provisioning, automatic provisioning of teams and of channels. We're going to talk about how we structure those for each of our projects. Primarily, the team itself is our people, right? So the team, when you're thinking about teams, usually kind of drawing it back to the keynote that we were talking about yesterday with connections, right? Your team is the players. It's the people that should be in the room, right? That we're all working together towards common goods, common goals. The channels are those goals. Those are usually the things, the way that we structure it is, the channel is the conversation that you're having about what you're trying to work on or accomplish, right? So the way that we typically structure this is our automation will look and say, hey, do you already have a client team that's established for your clients? Super. I don't need to create a team. If I do need to create a team, knock that out. Make me a cool team. Go add the right secured people, right, all through automation, add the right users to the right Office 365 group. And then underneath that, it's, hey, we got a new project. The statement of work signed, right? So we take our statement of work and turn that into, we issue out a project code, and that translates to my channel name with my project code on it. And we'll look at all that stuff. But immediately, the automation's already going to go and provision me out a plan, right, with my Office 365 group or my team. I get a OneNote already, and my plan gets automatically created too. So there's 3 tools that we use for our process. Teams, primarily for everything, right? All the files, fabric, channels, conversations, meetings, the works. We're using Planner to do all our task assignment. This is the workload that you need to do, right? Giant backlog of stuff, Kanban style. Here's a giant backlog bucket. Go assign cards, put them in the right buckets, and as your process flows, use those cards to do your prioritization. And then we use OneNote for anything that we're capturing, meeting minutes, anytime we're building or drafting any kind of emails that are going back and forth with clients, and the whole team needs to know it. We share those and we track those in our OneNote platform. Again, all of that is automatically provisioned for us, right? We click a button, goes into a SharePoint list, and we say, hey, I need a new whatever, a new project or a new team for a new client, brand new client. That kicks off all the automation and provisions everything that's up there. In a few cases, we do leverage Stream, right? So Stream's a fancy service. How many of you are still recording to Stream for your default by Teams meetings? Yeah, all right. So Stream, instead of automatically recording to Stream, it usually will go off to your OneDrive, and whoever clicks the button, the record button, if you're in Teams, let me fire that up. When you're in Teams, if you're in a meeting and you tell that meeting option to automatically record on entry, it will always go to Stream. It'll still default to always go to Stream, unless you specifically tell it to go to SharePoint. So if you haven't told your tenant to do that, or your admins haven't told your tenant to do that, you'll need to. All right, so this is Teams. Welcome to Teams. This is what it does. It's working hard on it. All of it, I guess. I don't know. Wait. I'm gonna do it. It makes it go faster, right? F5. Oh, look at that. Sign out and sign in again? You're killing me, Smalls. We got this. We're professionals. Can somebody call the help desk or tell them that this is going so well? Look how fancy. All right, well, I'm going to jump directly into my heavy Teams client on a completely different tenant. So none of this is going to join up. and it looks like it's just going awesome. Let's see where I'm at over here. No. Calendar. I'm going to a meeting. All right, so depends on how you're doing this. So a lot of our meetings that we're facilitating meetings with, we'll pin it to a channel. So here's one. We'll call this a Scrum meeting. So this is our Scrum for one of our clients' projects. You can see here we have a name for the client. We have a project code that we're working on, and I'm going to pop in here to look at. I'm going to go to the chat with participants. No, actually, I'm going to edit the meeting. So the meeting itself was pinned to a channel. Right, so if you haven't done that, or you're not doing that in your day-to-day work, that's a very common practice for us. And in fact, it was so common that every new project we're provisioning, we let the automation take care of that for us too. Right, so it's a brand new project. It's going to need a Scrum. We tell it during the SharePoint list. We say, hey, I want this new project to happen for me. I want Wednesdays at 8 a.m. Please schedule my Scrum. And the automation will go out and pin that. It'll schedule the Scrum and pin it directly to the channel for us. All of that automation, that level of automation, again, that's the 400 level stuff I was talking about. We're not going to get there, but we actually do that with a logic app that calls some Azure automation. So it's a runbook, and the PowerShell is available for us in Azure runbooks. You could also do it with an Azure function. So for some of our clients, they say, I don't want to do runbooks. I don't want to know PowerShell. Just build me an Azure function. Runs as a web service, so you can call it and trip it with a webhook and feed it a webhook payload. It'll reach in and do the automation directly against Graph API for you. So there's a lot of options there when you're getting into that level of detail, down in the weeds, where Azure Automation can really help you out to get even further than your current connectors can do in Power Automate. And we'll look at the current connectors that you can do off the shelf. But that's what we do, right? So we have automation. It comes in, it cranks out a new team if it needs it, cranks out my new channel, pins my Scrum to the channel at the time I've specified in my SharePoint list item request form. And from there, everybody automatically is notified, right? If they're a member of the group, they automatically see that. It'll show up on their calendar, and we say, hey, show up. You're part of the project. You're here. You're an individual contributor, and I want you to show up, have your cards updated, ready to go. It's 15-minute Scrum. Pow. That may not be your process. Maybe you're waterfall. We want to schedule a 2-hour meeting to go through every milestone on our waterfall project. It happens, right? And client by client, it happens. So because of that, your automation may also lean into what kind of regular cadence do I need? What kind of project is this? Is this an Agile project? Is it a Scrum project? Is it a waterfall project? Does it have a big budget? Do I have budgetary constraints that I need to limit how many people can attend these at the same time? Right, those are the things where you may look at some of that automation from your provisioning perspective. All right, I'm getting too far into the weeds there. Let me back up. So Teams itself, I'm going to pop over here. If I go look at my Teams, again, pay no attention to the man behind the screen here. So you'll notice you've got pinning, right? Who pins your channels? Everybody should be pinning channels. If you don't know how to pin a channel, let me show you. So we'll scroll down here. Here's my team. Here's a team. I don't know. I work for Focal Point. We have lots of channels. So Focal Point here. If you don't know how to pin a channel, so you come over here to the channel itself. Once you can see it, if you can't see it, it'll say there's some hidden channels down here. So you'll unhide your channels and then reach on down into the channel, hover over this ellipsis, click on that and pin it. You can see I'm unpinned here. So if you want to clean up all your pins, you can clean those things up. But if you need to keep them and pin them here. That throws it directly to the top of the list. Top section, but the bottom of the top section list. So if I expand off my pins, you'll see now I've got this cool pin down here. All set, right? So I'm not sure why this, oh, look at it. Oh, it came back. I want to talk on that one. Do it. Sometimes you have to use the dad voice. It doesn't always work, but.
While we're waiting.
Yeah.
So are you?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, you have to use this. Get ready to catch. Ready? Ooh, oh, nice.
So
that was me. That was my turn.
Are you actually making a project for every, or a team for every project? Because we're always afraid we're going to run out of teams.
That's a great question.
That's why we never adopted that model, because we saw the end of the road and just didn't do it.
Yeah, great question. So I'll tell you in common practices, right? So we'll have clients that use the team channel model to facilitate sales. Right? They're going through a whole sales pipeline and maybe not quote to cash, because Office 365 doesn't usually play nice with financial systems to that level, right? And Dynamics is there, but I mean, it's Dynamics. It's not my waffle for a reason. So some of them will do it for sales pipeline, right? And it depends, I would say, on the size and the scope of the players that are playing, right? And what they're trying to accomplish. So in organizations that are using it for sales, they would use something similar to this for sales. They'll oftentimes lean on divisional breakup, right? So it's a team per division, and then all the things that those people in that division are working on, right? When it's projects, no, to answer your question, we don't. We have a team per client, and then underneath that client, every time they reach out to me, I make a new channel per project, yeah. Because oftentimes my players won't change, right? The people are still in the room, they're still there having the conversations and doing the work. And oftentimes we'll have, I try as I might, I try to have a team that's interchangeable, right? So we're all cross-trained, we all know how to do stuff. But oftentimes I'll have players of that team that are the only ones that know how some of those features or functions work from the history of the projects that are in there. Mm-hmm. So my players don't often change, right? If your players are changing often, that can be hairy.
Most of our teams have almost everybody in them. Because, I mean, the way that they built it, there's not a lot of choice.
So talk to me, though. When that happens, what are some of the challenges or some of the feedback you get from those players?
The only real issue we run into is they get enough, not necessarily notifications, but bolded teams. So the activity counter is always something, so that it's always something, so they never notice it anymore. It's like getting, backup alerts every day for your whatever. All
of this is getting real chatty.
Right. So what happens is adding people, signing people works, but other things, like if you add a channel to try to get the entire channel's attention, or the entire team's attention, it never works, because everybody's things are read all the time anyway, so it doesn't stand out. That's kind of the biggest byproduct of having to have people in teams just because they might need to do something. That's the biggest thing we run into is we'll have something in an operation, part of operations, but I need to bring in other people from other parts of the company, kind of the whole reason Teams is a thing.
Sure.
But now I got to add a salesperson, and I got to add this person, and now they're in my operations channel because they might do 3 things a year in there. So, but that's
Yeah, so oftentimes, even ourselves at Focal Point, we face that challenge too. Right, it gets very verbose very fast when everybody's on every team or channel. They can mute the channels. So let me kind of back up a little bit. Did everybody hear his comments? Did everybody understand them when he was talking about at mentioning? You can at mention people directly, right? It's at tag and then their name. Did you know that you can shorten their names? When you at tag and it gives you first and last, you can back it up. Revelation. Did you know you can at tag the whole channel? He mentioned that too, yeah? All right, so at tagging a channel is awesome, however, super chatty, and it causes, it becomes deaf, it's white noise, right?
I'm the only person in the company that knows you can do it.
Yeah. So let me kind of talk to that, right? So if I'm on a channel, you can see here the demo tenant's playing nice now. So in the channel itself, over here on the conversations, you can squelch some of that. You can also manage your notifications and how in your notifications it's alerting you. So if I come back over here to notifications, my big deal here is on my teams, and this is my mandate because I don't care how chatty it gets, you answer me when I talk to you. That's my dad voice. See, did you hear it? That was the dad voice. It doesn't work all the time. But I crank them up. I make everybody turn it up. I want, if you haven't answered me in 10 minutes, I want that thing to email you because I'm talking directly to you. That helps with the missed ats, right? If somebody's talking directly to me in a chat, one-on-one chat or group chat, it'll ping me in my email and it'll say, hey, somebody's trying to talk to you. If it's just on the channel, no, I don't get those on the channel. And I don't mandate that for my team. Like I'm expecting them to pay attention to the channel on the channels that they're working on. That's part of your daily duties. And my instruction to them is for the things you care about, you pin those channels, the projects you're working on, you pin those directly on the top left of that team. So that's where you live all day, every day. How many of you still use Outlook? Right, that's cool. Anybody on Gmail? I mean, it happens. It happens. Okay, so Teams, I'll tell you, is not the only client that can do what Teams does. There are other integrators out there that have Teams shells and Teams wrappers, and they'll integrate with other email platforms. They have notification stuff, and it's pretty neat, but it doesn't work well with Office 365. So I would say if you're going to use a Teams thing, talk Teams. We're all here. We're Microsoft people. Talk Teams. Let's talk Teams. And if you're going to be in here, pin the things you care about, put them up tip top. You can do the same thing with chats. Yeah? So let's say I'm over here in a chat or I'm in a conversation. I'm going to go to Tiger Team Go. We're looking at this cool project. It's a project Clearview. We're going to do some new windows. If there's something that's important to me and I need it, and we use this all the time, if there's something important to me, I'm going to hover over here. I don't know if you guys can. Here, watch this. Ooh. Oh, well, all right, too far. Easy, guy, easy. I need a little less caffeine today, maybe? I don't know. So I'm going to go over here and I can save this or unsave this, yeah? Saving is a godsend, and it's also a bit of a curse. If I come in here and I save everything, my saved list is gigantic. How many of you use save list today? Oh, okay. Well, so saves you can get to it from a couple places. I can click on my name and go to my saved here, or I can, if you're like me and a super nerd, I go this way. Ooh. So I hit off my saves, and it'll show me all the things that I've saved over time and where they're at. So maybe somebody sent me a license key, and I need to go back and get it, username and password, because that happens in Teams. And I love it when they put it in a channel. Really, guys? Come on. But yeah, links to OneNote. We had meeting minutes we captured. That was something I really need to come back to and refer to. So I'll save those really frequently. I'll save that stuff and refer back to it pretty often. All right, so what do we have? We're leveraging the heck out of Teams from a process perspective to be our shell. These are my players, and these are the workload that we're working on, the things that we're working on, the conversations we're having about the work. Well, let's talk about the work, right? So on each of these, any of these, maybe, let's go see if we've got one already. Oh, wait, maybe that one had one. Demo? Demo doesn't have one. All right, well, so the work that we're doing and the conversations we're having. So conversations are great, and the best part about putting them, in your channel, specifically around the projects or the things that you're working on, is that they're contextual and they will remain contextual. There's not, unless you specifically tell your tenant to delete information out of here over time, right, with the retention policy, because that is a thing. Some of you may have, how many of you are regulatory? You're regulated. Yeah. So in a regulated environment, oftentimes you have proof of destruction. You've got information lifecycle you have to adhere to. So your tenant may be configured to delete conversations or chats over time. If it's over, it'll expire after a certain period of time to meet your regulatory restrictions. And or you may have information management, information discovery. Right? I work with the client that did E911, and E911 was it was a chief problem for them. They had to go out and do discovery throughout their entire tenant for everything E911 and prove that it was destroyed in the right kind of time frames. Well, that's a challenge, right? That could be Word docs, OneNotes, planner cards, stream videos where we mentioned E911. How do I find all that stuff, right? And it's there, the tools are there. You can do e-discovery and find all these things. But usually you program your tenant to take care of those things for you. Sometimes it requires elevated licensure to do that. So if you need to know how to do that, ask. I can kind of walk you through whatever you need. But so in this one, in this cool demo here, we didn't already have a plan pinned here. So I'm going to go talk to Planner real quick. Let's go look at a cool tool called Planner. Planner, tasks and to-dos. No, tasks by Planner and to-do. Used to be just Planner, which is fantastic here, right? So let's say I didn't already have a team, or excuse me, a plan that was pinned to this channel, this Office 365 group. I can do that now. You are not limited, to my knowledge, on the number of plans that you can pin to an Office 365 group, right? So again, we have a team per client, and then in it, each project is getting its own plan. And I'm not necessarily limited to, now I haven't had a client that's reached 10,000 or more projects. Maybe there's a limit. I don't know what the upper bound is on that. Don't quote me. Or quote me on the, I don't know. Quote me on that. So if I didn't already have one, I can create one. If I did have one, down here on the existing plans, it'll list those things off for me. If I am zoomed appropriately, oh, see, now we just totally, it's confused. Let's just make one. We're going to post to the channel. It says, I couldn't save your tab setting. That's awesome. Have you ever run into this? Anybody, have you ever run into this? Yeah. You have to be a member, not an owner. And then you can go to an owner. Like you have to have a member in the team. And then they can be an...
I've run into not being able to add planners, tasks to tabs that are private. Is that normal?
Actually, yeah.
Control member or whatever they're called?
Planner does not work on private channels.
Okay.
Yeah, great, thank you. Thank you. Good point. It was shocking. Yeah, so Planner does not work on private channels. There's a couple of things that don't work on private channels. In right, wrong, or indifferent, I don't know if they're working on that. I don't know if it's planned to change that or not. Planner has lots of plans, but I don't know if that's one of the plans. Oh, come on, guys. These are the jokes. Dad voice, dad jokes. Yes. Oh, can you throw that in the back corner? Pass. Polite pass.
Faith in you.
Yes.
So with Planner, one thing I've run into that's a little gotcha is if someone deletes the plan task tab in the team, if the plan was created in the team, you can't recover the plan. Yeah. If you create a plan within Planner and then add it through here, if they delete the tab, then you can recover.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good tip.
I've had a couple people.
That's a good tip. And
do
that's,
that.
I think it's a known bug that is on the bug list, but yeah, that's a great tip. So if you create them from this interface and then somebody dumps it, somebody removes the tab, you can't get that tab back. That one won't come back with tasks and to-do, tasks and to-dos by Planner. Tasks by Planner and to-dos. It won't come back that way. You've got to add it separate. Or you could do it with the web. So you could do a site, and then it'll wrap the plan as a web page, wrap it that way. That's the only way I've been able to do it. Yeah, go ahead.
So to your point, that's the backward hack. You know, every planner board has a website address. You use the web tab and expose it on the tab if you can't add one to a private channel.
Well, and another good tip is that's not limited either, and some of it's smart, right? So if you're linking to things via web tabs, website tabs, in Teams, you may notice, right, top nav gets ripped off, right? So if you're in the modern experience on SharePoint, anything throughout your environment, so OneDrive, SharePoint, if you're linking those in, it's smart enough to know that it's wrapped in Teams. It's listening to where it's wrapped from, and it'll start removing page elements to make best use of your landscape, which is a super cool tip. So linking things in Office 365 to embed them in your Teams experience is really handy there. Another thing, I don't know if you've come across this, but if you're in Teams, heavy client, and so I run on low bandwidth all the time. Anybody else on low bandwidth? Yeah, Teams is super chatty. Teams is a memory beast, and it's really chatty, and every time you click a tab on Teams, it authenticates you. It goes to verify your authentication. It's, you know, making sure you are who you are. and nobody else came along the way, which is great. Secure, super chatty, and every time you click one of those tabs, it's got to re-render that tab. And if you change off that tab and then you go back, it's got to re-render that tab, which is great on a slow bandwidth. No, it's awful. It's horrible. So the notion that everything should go into Teams, I love. I really do. And I tout it to all of my clients. Everything belongs in Teams. Move everything in your workload to Teams because it is contextual. It's people-centric and project-centric. It's focused on the work you're trying to do. It's about, to your point yesterday, it's about connections. It's about the conversations that we have. It's about the work that we're doing. And we were chatting at lunch yesterday about something was lost when we all disappeared. Something was something tangible about a water cooler conversation where it could be, hey, what's up? How's the kids? How's the family? 2 minutes, I wanted to have this conversation, make a decision about business, right? In the span of a 10-minute conversation over coffee in the break room or water at the water cooler, we could have solved 3 to 5 to 10 different conversations. That takes me 30 minutes sometimes now, right? Because I've got to go to the context I'm talking about or change to another tool or change to another tool. And if you're wrapping everything in the same context here, especially from a project management perspective, if your key players are in the conversation and they are working 2-3 hours of their day focused on this thing that they're working on, that's the context of their conversation. It's all right there at their fingertips. They don't have to spend 30 minutes. They can get back to that kind of water cooler, multi-threaded thought process and conversation track. Making those connections and keeping them contextual is really key to the whole process management through Office 365. Right? So Teams is great at that. It brings you together. It enforces those connections. It builds that bond. So this isn't here. Pretend that I did this in the Teams tab, and I'm going to pop over. Oh, this is the fun part too. No, I'm going to go to this tab, and we're going to open Planner in a new tab. You'll notice I didn't change my Teams tab because then it would take 2 hours to re-render that for me. Sign in as a different user. We're going to go to Planner. Oh, what's happening? It's happening. That's my password. Nobody steal my password. It's important. I mean, somebody put it in Teams already, so it really doesn't matter. Hey, you can have it. It's fine. Okay, that's great. All right, let's switch over to another tenant here. I'm going to do one of these, and I'm going to go to Planner. You guys can see all the things under the covers here. This is recorded, but nobody tell my boss I did this. All right, so here's my tasks. Wow, what a laundry list, right? Here, if I make it really small, then you can't read it anyway, so that's good. All right, so across the left-hand side over here, right? Check it out, Spotlight, I love it. On the left-hand side here, I've got all kinds of plans up here, right? Same notion. I can pin a plan. Important plans to me, I pin them. They're important to me, so I use, it's not called pinning here, it's called favoriting. So when you want it, let's talk discovery. I'm looking for a project. I know there's a plan that's out there. I know there's some workload. My boss said I should do some work. So I got to go to this thing called Planner Hub on the top left. I'm going to do this again. So on the top left, no mobile view. Stop it. All right, top left here. So I've got my Planner Hub, and across the Planner Hub, you have lots of plans and everything. It's going crazy over here. At the bottom, you'll notice there's a tab that says Recent Things I've Visited, or All, and All projects would show me everything from all of time and all the plans that are out there that I have access to see. That is security trimmed. If you're not a member of the group, you're not allowed to see those things, which is fantastic, right? It's great, except for the people that are in every group, because then this is chatty too. Right, and that becomes a conversation where you're having to say, let's focus on the things, favorite the ones that you need to do work in today, or tomorrow, or next week, or next month, right? Focus on the clients that you have to focus on the projects, pull them up, use that favorites. I can do that on any plan. I'm gonna pull on this one, because I've been working on this one. I could pull any plan up, and I can favorite it right here. This little favorite icon up here, little star. That puts them on my favorites. It brings it up in my Planner Hub so that I can see it on the favorites section on my Planner Hub, which will give me the breakdown of what's in progress, right? What's not started, what is started. Across the landscape of a plan. Let's make a new plan. I'm going to do Toland demo. It's going to be a public plan because I don't want to mess with groups right now. So we're going to do a public plan, create new. See, prod tenants work a lot faster. If you ever have a dev tenant, you will know that. It's slow. All right, so you have a buckets, right? What's the notion of a bucket? Who in here runs Kanban process? Yeah, all right, cool. So classic waterfall was cascaded. You've got all kinds of plans with their dependencies. One thing Planner does, two things Planner does not do that other Kanban systems do well is they don't pin dependencies, right? So your cards don't pin a dependency. You used to be able to tag people in here too, which is fantastic, and then took it away. So I'm sad about that. But so you can't tag in here anymore. You can't add time, right? So for all your tasks, usually in a Kanban process, you're adding time for two factors, right? There's one of an estimation. How long is this going to take me, right? Another metric is usually tracked as how long did it take me, right? And then what's my overhead? And that way we can calculate burn and do all that stuff. Planner does not do that, right? So just know that if you're heading into this Kanban process, it doesn't do that very well. So Planner is an automatable thing. We can talk about automation here in a minute. But Planner can be automated from Planner templates. You can save a plan as a template. So I stack up all this backlog of work, right? We're going to do some stuff. Let's go get groceries. And, oh no, wait, this is work. Build servers. That's good. It's all good work. Backlog, 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 backlog. Save that bad boy as a template, and then you can cookie cut that thing out over and over and over and over again. You can do that with automation in Power Automate. Right? So my SharePoint list, originally we were talking about SharePoint list is my request. I say, hey, can I have a new project? Can I have a new team, a new project? Can I put my scrums on this date? Can you make me a plan of this template, XYZ template? Pick your flavor, right? They're labeled accordingly. The automation can reach in and say, find this one that's called this label, cookie cut, cookie cut, cookie cut, over and over and over again, pinning it to the group where it's going to create the team or use an existing team. Planner can identify the group that you want, or excuse me, Automate. Power Automate can, in your flow, it can leverage Planner service to call up the group that you want to talk about from Teams. Connect up, grab the group, add the players that you want, put them in the team, or create a new team, and then put them in the team, and then create your new planner, your new channel, and then your new planner to pin to the group and the Planner tab, which if you do it through automation, you don't have the tab issue. of not being able to create it, not being able to add it. And it also, because it adds it that way, it doesn't have the failure that you were talking about where somebody nukes the tab, it can't come back. If you do it through the Power Automate or through Azure Automation, any automation, doesn't matter, whatever you're doing through the web service, it will add the tab without the dependency. So yeah, it was a good point if you're doing it manually. If you do it through automation, then that's a moot point. All right, so we've got a cool plan, and I've got some new work log. Let's say we want to prioritize this. All the buckets can be done too, so we'll say this is my doing bucket. We'll go classic Kanban. This is my done bucket. Spelling and casing are optional today. And because I'm standing in the way of lunch, so I'm not gonna focus on that. But again, all of that's templatable. If you're not familiar with it from a charting perspective, you can see those breakdowns. You can see how many of those tasks are started, not started, what state they're in. You can look at it from a scheduled perspective if you added start dates and end dates. So let's say I have some tasks over here, you can see them, and I don't have a start date or an end date on it. Let's put one. Let's do yesterday, and we'll go to tomorrow. Nope. Tomorrow, that's good. And that real-time updated for me, and I'll close it. Sweet. So you can see it down on my view here on the bottom. It uploaded or updated those immediately for me, and being that it's modern, the modern view just took an update. That's great. This, I don't know, how many of you overlay this? And everybody said Outlook. How many of you overlay this over your Outlook calendar? What? All right. So if you go to My Tasks, this is the best, like, again, mind blown. Go to My Tasks over here on the ellipsis, the hidden one. You get one option that says add this task to my Outlook calendar. Nobody pay attention to my calendar because it is an absolute mess. But I'm going to do this publish and share with anyone thing and add to Outlook down here at the bottom left. Bottom right, excuse me. It's going to kick me to Outlook. I can see this thing happen. And then at the top, the tip top, I get all of my planner plans. Nope, that's the wrong one. Planner, my tasks will show up here, and I can see those tasks across the top for the time that they're allocated. So it'll show up day to day, right? So if you have one day, one task, one day, then it'll show up on that one day. Can you pass that cube for me? Question in the middle.
What would be the use case for adding the tasks from Planner to your Outlook rather than using the To-Do app?
Oh, great question. So I'm a fan of roll your own, right? Whatever your preference is, let's talk about that. So if I go to my tasks and to-dos, well, actually, it's over here. I'll just hit this. So this will pull me out to to-dos. To-dos, you can set up to sync through your tasks from plans. It's not that way by default. You can update that though. So it's a setting. You just go in and tell you want to take them. Also, flagged emails. If you're not using to-dos today, flagged emails can automatically. You can set those to automatically come through. But to answer your question, so the updates. I'm not a fan of triple clicking, quadruple clicking, and not everything. You can't update everything, all the fields on a planner task card through the Teams interface, team tasks by planner and to-dos. When you pin that tab, you can't update all the fields on the card. Not everything's available.
But you can through the To-Do desktop app.
So if I'm in, To-Do desktop app, yes,
Yeah.
You can, yeah. And I'm not, there are a lot of additional features on local clients. How many of you all have local client? Are you all local client? We work with a lot of customers that are F1s, F3s, they're 100% in the browser. And I'm not going to talk about local clients, but they do have much more features. You can update all the things in the local client too, yeah. Yeah, To-Do is great because it consolidates things from your personal life, from your email box. It brings together your planned cards, things that are planned tasks that you need to accomplish. It'll consolidate all those things here, and across the left, you can navigate through your. Let me see. I'll make that a little bit bigger. Watch the navigation disappear again. So across the left, you can address all the things that you need to. One of the coolest options in here is the My Day feature. And My Day will break out like, hey, today, these are the things you said you wanted to do today. And it'll show you all the things you need to accomplish today. You'll notice, again, my calendar and my to-dos are awful, 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 awful. Don't judge. Yeah.
Found a way to get it so it will notify on more than one account? Notifications or to-do?
No. So I was having this conversation yesterday, actually. So I run a Chromebook. I'm almost entirely switched over to my Chromebook, which requires me to be in the browser all the time, right? And now I can install Edge on it through Linux and blah, 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 blah. But I was informed on my Chromebook that the Android app for Outlook is no longer going to be supported. Microsoft says you have to go to the browser now. The worst heartache that I have for that is I don't have a consolidated place for all of my, I'm on 35 tenants. Like, really? You want me to go log into 35 Edge profiles? That's not a use case that I drive with. So that forced me to go all the way back to my 64-bit Outlook client. And now I'm overlaying 35 tenants on a fat client, which is also chatty. Not as chatty as Teams, but it works. It's kind of slow and clunky. But yeah, it's per profile, right? So every profile that's up here in my Edge, whatever you configure up here is per tenant, per tenant per account. I do have, however, and you kind of probably saw it, sneaky people peeking over my shoulder looking at what I'm doing. But in my calendar, you'll notice you can share your cross-tenant calendars with each other. You can share the detail, right? You're not just free busy, but you're going to actually share the detail. And if you share it to a named 365 user, that can be overlaid in here too. So you can have an external account. I work with a partner. Where did it go? Oh, my calendars. I work with another partner, so this is another tenant right here. So I can overlay that calendar on here too. And it'll pull those through. So if you have those 35 tenants, you can at least overlay the calendars that way. Only the calendars, not mail, not consolidated, everything else. Yes, go ahead.
So while you're talking about calendars, have you found a way that you can publish all of the meetings that you have for a project on a project calendar within your project team?
So I would leverage the channel calendar for that. So the channel itself has its own Exchange calendar, right?
Right.
And that can be overlaid in here too. So for that project, if you're pinning all the meetings for the project meetings, if you're putting those to the channel, let me go back to Teams and we can look at that on how to do that. But if I put my meetings on the channel, I'm going to pick on my general channel here, and there's a couple different ways you can do it. So I can do schedule a meeting here, right? It's kind of hard to see up there, but up here, which one of these is the Zoom? I guess there isn't. So you can schedule a meeting there. And if I schedule it from the channel, it automatically goes to the channel. If I'm on my calendar, let's go back to my ugly calendar. If I'm on my calendar, I want to do a meeting. I can do a new meeting, and then I can pin it to a calendar, a channel, or multiple. That's a very rare use case, but usually you pin it to a single channel. So you can do that here. You can pick your channels, pick your teams, pick your channels. If you're doing it that way, the calendar itself for that channel is an overlaid calendar. You can go fetch that and pull that into your Outlook as well to see all of those in a consolidated place, right? What did we do in yesteryear? How many of you use SharePoint calendars? SharePoint calendars was like the best thing since sliced bread. And from a usability perspective, SharePoint calendars, you could say, hey, kick this out to my Outlook, and you could overlay that one as well. And that's no longer supported. So WebDAV calendars in your local Outlook clients are no longer supported. If you put it in there, the client, if you're on the modern client, enterprise client, the Office 365 click to install will remove the calendar after a while. So as it reaches up to the tenant and says, hey, am I up to date? Oh, I got all this dirty stuff. Get rid of it. It's part of the modernization efforts, so your client's doing for you all the time. Make sure you're up to date. So watch out for your updates on your local clients if you are using that. It'll just start removing all your WebDAV calendars. So another option for that is, or another option that's not supported is it won't pull a WebDAV calendar into your online calendar either. So no more WebDAV calendars. You can't do any SharePoint calendar overlays on your online calendar. It won't recognize them or support them. Microsoft's approach to that is, the recommendation is to go to the team channel calendar, use the channel calendars. Yeah. Because again, all your players are there. All the people that need to see it can see it or should be seeing it. What gets really dirty and hairy is that I can squelch a conversation in Teams. That is the only part I can turn off unless I specifically remove myself from a team, right? I can't, if I put that channel calendar together, on every channel that I have stuff on, it's gonna blow up that overlay and it invites it to my calendar. I cannot turn that off. So while they say, yeah, do that, don't do that. Not if you're in his use case, right? If everybody's on your channels, on all of your plans and all of your channels and all of your groups, don't do that because you will explode their calendar and they'll be freaking out about what ones do I have to go to? I don't understand, I don't know. So yeah, go ahead. Oh, can you pass the cube, please?
And it doesn't affect your availability. So the only
true, too.
availability is on your calendar. So people are trying to schedule with you and don't know, like me with you.
Yeah.
On those other calendars, I can't see those in your availability.
So when the channel meetings are created, you would receive an invite if you were put on the required list, or if you're on the required. That's the only time that it will show natively or automatically show your free busy is impacted, unless you specifically accept the meeting. If you add it to you go in and say, yes, here, I will attend.
Or in Outlook, if you open the calendar, there's a button that says add to my calendar, and it actually creates a synchronized
that one will do it too,
calendar.
on your local client. Thank you. Yeah, so yeah, good tip. All right, the last one I did want to show you is the Power Automate. So I'm going to jump over here and we're going to look at Power Automate and some templates. Again, we're not going to have time to jump into the 300 level. I was hoping to get there. But what we do have some time for here, I'm going to go like this. And these are relatively new. No. All right, so I'm going to look for some templates. You can see now there are lots of cool planner templates out there. Planner templates and templates for talking to Planner. So if you're making Planner templates, which you should, absolutely should, if you do repeatable process, repeatable business, and repeatable project structure, you absolutely should be using Planner templates. It's a breeze to save them. You knock them out, and then from your automation, you can say cookie cut that over and over again, right? Pin it to the right group. I need to know what group I'm going to do. So ways to do this, I would say poke around in here if you're looking at Planner specifically. If you're looking at Teams, so let me back up this one. Then we'll go like this and maybe bring it in a little. You guys still see that okay? Cool. So if I go up to Teams, no, not team, Teams, plural. There's a lot of Teams templates too. Check this one out. Create a task in Planner when a message is added to a Microsoft Teams channel. How cool is that? I don't even need my SharePoint anymore. I could say, hey, Cortana, tell my channel I want a new team. Boom, the automation will do it for you. It'll go out and crank out your new Planner tasks. You can do whatever you want. You start with this template. Let me show you what we're going to do. I'm going to breeze in here. I'm going to click this button. Create, no, scroll. Connect. I know you can do it. If you're not MFA'd, get MFA'd. It's the coolest, easiest thing. It makes your life so much easier when you're trying to do demos. Hold, please. I sent a thing. Do the thing. I sent the thing. Yes. Awesome sauce. All right. So this is my explanation to everybody. They say, gosh, how do I make a plan to do that? Never make one from scratch, especially if you're starting out in a Planner. It's a lost cause, right? There are so many connectors and so many templates that are already out there to use as your secret sauce, right? Open the recipe book. Somebody's already built a cool template for you, and it's been nominated. It's been approved by Microsoft. Yes, this is a viable template. Use it like this. Break those things open and go to a little bit of reverse engineering. I would say probably 7 times out of 10, 6 or 7 times out of 10, maybe 6.8 times out of 10. The off-the-shelf cookie cutter template's going to knock it out for you. You don't have to do anything else. You connect it with the user that you want, and boom, it does it. Right? If you need a little extra flavor, you got to get in there and you're like, put some extra spices in your recipe. Okay, this is what this button's for. Usually the trigger is already there. Right? You saw me say, go find something about teams. I'm gonna from my Teams box, I'm gonna do something to a team, or I'm gonna read something from a team. Right? So look for the trigger first, and then we'll add in actions after the trigger happens. So everything in the Office 365 suite that you would add to, let's call it SharePoint, document libraries, files and teams, team itself, channel, conversations, blah, 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 blah. I'm gonna put something in there. I have a reaction to that. There's a reactor here. So my action starts the process here. Excuse me, my trigger starts the process. Find your trigger first, come in and add all the actions that you want to. You got a great big box here of all the different things you can connect to. I want to talk to Planner. I want to talk to Graph. I want to go find my user. I need to go find an Office 365 group by name. Find the Office 365 group of the team or channel that triggered this. Right? Those are all actions and options that are available to you to pull the information you need for your contextual stuff. Right? These are the conversations I need to have with these kind of people. Tell it who you want to talk to with your connectors. Go fetch that group. I want to know the group of the people. I want to know the conversation that we're having a conversation about. Make it go. And Cortana can do all that stuff. All right, I have, looks like 1 minute left, 0 minutes left for any questions, but please ask a question. We're right before lunch. I'm willing to stick around. I'm not going to go out there yet. So if you do have questions, feel free and stick around. Ask away. The cube is here. Anybody? Don't be shy. In the back. Like a boss.
Thanks. One of the limitations we found with Planner is we don't allow Office 365 groups and teams to be created through the normal process. Microsoft recently announced rosters for Planner, and I'm wondering if you or if anyone in the room has any experience with that. I haven't had time to investigate it yet.
Yeah, we've experimented with it. We haven't put it in production yet. I think the use case is very targeted, right? So when you're building your roster, especially from an automated perspective, that's a really targeted use case. And the roster is, it's difficult to define from an automation stance. So we've only experimented with it. I haven't put it in my automation stack yet. But it is viable. I mean, it's a viable use case for sure, especially if you're building them manually. Right? Like you take your template, build your roster, go knock them out. It's in a manual provisioning stance, it's a great tool. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Anybody else? Other questions? Okay, well, so again, for Focal Point, we are giving away that security demo, security assessment module. If you're interested, grab a list of the modules. They're on the USB key, and fill out a card, and we're going to do a drawing for that. So we'll notify you via the email. If right now I have one, and he just left. So he's going to be my guy, and I'll email him. Unless anybody else is interested, feel free and fill out a card. Thank you, everybody, for attending. I appreciate your time.